Welcome to the kickoff event of Ashland's 150th celebration. Let's gain some perspectives into this area in 1868. This area, the village, or the Flatiron district of Holderness, had 2 churches, a hotel, 4 dry goods stores, a shoe store, millinery store, grocery, bank, public school, 2 woolen mills, 3 paper mills, leatherboard mill, 2 glove factories, 2 tanneries, a machine shop, blacksmith shop, 2 wagon shops, 2 sawmills, and several other small mechanical shops. It had approximately 200 dwellings. The Boston, Concord, and Montreal Railroad had connected the village to national markets beginning in 1849, bringing in passengers and materials and shipping out our products. The U.S. flag at this time was a 30-star flag, which was adopted on July 4th, 1867, after Nebraska joined the Union, and was our flag until 1877. Only 37 stars on the flag. Note there will be no women in our play, as they did not have the right to vote until August 18, 1920, when the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified. There are other interesting historical facts which occurred in 1868, and they are on the poster boards in the back of the hall. Check them out if you haven't already done this. So let's begin. The setting is late spring, 1868. A group of businessmen from the village have gathered.
There always seems to be dissension from the rest of them at town meetings as to how the town's money should be spent.
Remember the year that we fought about the location of the town farm, where our elderly and infirm residents are cared for?
Who could forget in '56 when we proposed that the existing town hall be moved to the village, and after 3 days of debate, long into the evenings, it was dismissed?
That was painful.
Yeah, and what about 58? We had that article to swap the townhouse and the land for the white meeting house in the village and some land, and again, the article was dismissed.
Oh, the meeting of 1861, that was when we voted to provide suitable sidearms and clothing for the Holderness volunteers. But we couldn't even agree on a location for training drills. So it was decided to have 2, one in the village, one in the outlying area.
Did you notice that most of the selectmen and officers lately are us, businessmen of the village?
And it seems like it's usually always one of us in the village who has the funds to loan the town when we inadvertently overspend.
And that recent article about the fire engine, which would have mostly benefited us, was dismissed.
Same with the one for the public park.
And the library.
At this rate, we'll never get a vote in our favor to improve the roads or even the sidewalks.
Or the water facilities, or any other improvements to refine our town.
The village population has greatly increased, especially since the Boston, Concord, and Montreal Railroad connected us with the rest of the country almost 20 years ago.
We function as if we were 2 towns.
Well, that's it. How do we do that?
Do what?
Become 2 towns.
I remember wondering how a town could succeed when the various states succeeded at the beginning of the Civil War. And I think you have to file a petition with the state legislature requesting such action.
So, we just prepare a petition and file it with the legislature?
Well, sort of. The petition needs to confirm how things such as town debt, paupers, elderly, and infirm, taxes, and everything will be divided. And more importantly, what area will contain the new town.
Well, let's start a petition.
Don't we need a name first?
Oakland.
Maplewood?
I like Elmwood.
Riverside.
Asquam's my favorite.
Wait. Let's write all the names on a piece of paper and put them into Jonathan's hat. Okay, I have a piece of paper right here in the center.
We got them all?
Here's one. Okay, Jonathan, you pick since it's, well, your hat.
Ashland it is.
Well, there is an Ashland, Kentucky, which was incorporated over 10 years ago. It's an industrial town on the Ohio River. That's very similar to what we are.
Where did it get its name from?
From the name of Henry Clay's estate in Kentucky.
I believe he was a lawyer who represented Kentucky in the U.S. Senate, and he was later in the House of Representatives.
That's right, and he served as Secretary of State under President John Quincy Adams, another fine man.
One of my favorite quotes of Henry Clay is, "Of all the properties which belong to an honorable man, not one is so highly prized as that of character." And I think that would be a great basis for a new town.
I've heard him called the Great Compromiser, as his skills for negotiating and compromising has proved invaluable to help hold this nation together and balance the state's rights and our national rights.
And he changed the role of the Speaker of the House and made it the powerful position it is today, and I'm sure will be for generations.
Okay, Ashland it is.
Let me grab my law book. I think I have something in here. There we go. So here it says that state law requires that a notice of petition to divide a town be served upon two town officials at least 28 days before the annual town meeting.
I know such notice was served to the town clerk and one selectman before the annual town meeting, but they did not make that public until after the town meeting.
Yeah, the town clerk admitted that he sealed up the notice he received in an envelope and did not inform any inhabitant of the proposal before the annual meeting.
Well, the selectmen did not sign a warrant for that special town meeting held on May 9th when the two articles on the proposed division were considered.
That's right. I think I have a copy of the minutes here. Hold on. Here we go. So one was to vote to divide into two separate and distinct townships, and that was defeated by a vote of 4 yeas and 87 nays.
The low number of votes and the lopsided result suggests that the proponents of the division either did not attend the special meeting or chose not to vote.
And under the second article, to see if the town will vote to raise a certain sum of money to defend herself and territories against desegregation, integration, or division from the efforts now being made before the next session of the legislature of New Hampshire or any session. The meeting voted $500 to defend the town from division. I guess we have a challenge on our hand when we file this petition.
Clay Simpson, who is a direct descendant of Henry Clay and a retired living in Hanover, New Hampshire, reached out to us and had hoped to make it here tonight with his wife Kitty, but they had conflicting previous personal commitments. Same group of men later in July.
So Edwin, your petition with a number of other citizens of Holderness asking for the division of the town was presented to the House of Representatives on June 8th?
Yes, it was.
I signed as well.
Hold on, I think I have something in here. And the next day, June 9th, as a representative from Holderness, I introduced a bill, quote, an act to constitute the town of Ashland from part of the territory of the town of Holderness, end quote. Edwin's petition and my bill have been referred to the Committee on the Division of Towns.
Then I heard the next week 3 more petitions with a total of 97 signatures were presented in favor of our new town.
But 4 petitions with a total of 273 signers were present in opposition to the division.
Unfortunately, at this point in the debate, the historical record is silent. None of the petitions and no records of the Committee on the Division of Towns survive in the state archives or in newspaper articles.
And did you hear, in the paper, it was reported a severe contest over the division was had before the Committee on the Division of Towns, the hearing occupying 2 weeks of the session.
Some 4 or 5 counsel appeared on each side, and a large number of witnesses were examined.
The report of the committee was unanimously in favor of the division. So on Friday, June 19th, the committee reported the bill back to the House without any proposed amendments.
It was then tabled until the next Tuesday.
It says here in the paper, the House took up the bill to create Ashland on June 23rd, upon request of Mr. Page from Warren and Representative Mason from Bristol. Quote, move that the whole subject be postponed to the next session of the legislature, with the proper notice being given to the town of Holderness, because the clerk did not reveal it until after the annual meeting.
Yep, and in here it was saying that he argued that the notice was improper and, quote, a fraud to the town of Holderness. He said that the town had sent 2 representatives to the legislature, both excellent men and both in favor of the division, but he did not suppose that either of them would say he thought he would be elected if it was known that this was the question coming up.
But it was argued, though, that the letter of the law had been met. The town's voters had, after all, been informed in time before the legislature met, as a special town meeting had been held on the subject.
And having waived the right of notice, the town could not now claim it. His motion was defeated after the motion by Mr. Clark of Guilford to suspend the rules so that the bill was read a 3rd time and passed, and was sent on to the Senate the same day.
After receiving the bill on June 23rd, the Senate referred it to the Committee of Towns, which reported the bill back without any proposed amendments a week later on June 30th.
And on the next day, June 1st, the Senate voted to approve the bill, which was promptly signed by the governor and became effective immediately.
All right.
Good news.
We have Ashland.
Yeah, but it was titled, An Act to Constitute the Town of Ashland from a Part of the Territory of the Town of Holderness.
It set forth the boundaries of our new town and outlined the procedure for the division.
So it says here in the paper, the act ordered the division of the assets and debts, with 54.9% going to Ashland and 45.1% to Holderness. Jonathan, Edwin, and I were authorized to call the first Ashland town meeting.
And did you also read the article where it was reported that the town was fully organized and entitled to all of the honors of any other town? And considering the efforts required on part of some of its citizens to get the bill through the legislature against the powerful opposition made against it, may be entitled to a little extra honor, and that is having a few men who don't know the word fail.
Now, when the train stops at our depot, it will be announced as Ashland.
And the post office has been changed to Ashland.
Now let's listen in on the first town meeting.
You know, Holderness is holding a town meeting today as well to elect officials for the vacancies created by the division, which met meant some were no longer residents of that town, but of Ashland.
I know. I knew we would have to have a meeting to elect officials and approve funding to complete the process of becoming a town, but didn't really think about how it would impact Holderness and its officials.
As the bill creating our town required, we have posted the warrant for this meeting.
As the bill creating our town required, we have posted the warrant for this meeting.
As required by the bill incorporating our town and New Hampshire law, I hereby call this meeting to order and declare that the warrant for the first town meeting be fully posted and be required by New Hampshire law.
Let's start right off. Are there any nominations for moderator?
I nominate Horace Thompson to serve as moderator until the next town meeting.
I second that nomination.
Hosea, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, I do.
All in favor of Hosea Thompson to serve as moderator until our next town meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. I declare Hosea Thompson as our moderator. Here you go, Hosea.
Thank you.
The meeting continues, and here is Hosea summarizing it.
So after all the voting, here is our final slate of officials for the new town of Ashland. First Selectman, Benjamin B. Worthen. Second Selectman, William P. Drake. Third Selectman, Jeremiah Calley. Treasurer, Abrose Scribner. And Town Clerk, George Prescott.
We also voted to raise $500 to defray initial town expenses.
We also appointed Jonathan and Edwin to a special committee to settle all matters and claims between our town and the town of Holderness based upon the acts passed by the legislature. This is to provide for the division of the town debt and property of both towns according to that bill.
Hopefully, we can reach an agreement with Holderness. Otherwise, the county commissioners for the county of Grafton may make the division as well as the division of paupers.
Does anyone have any other business to bring before this meeting?
No.
There being nothing further to come before this meeting, I declare it adjourned. We are now officially the town of Ashland, New Hampshire.
Right.
Do you realize this meeting only took 2 hours, not 2 days, as our meetings in the past have?
Yes. Now let's celebrate.
What a great idea. We should have a grand ball tomorrow night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you all for attending. Hope you enjoyed it and maybe even learned a little bit more history about our town. Happy 150th.
I'll sneak in here. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Let me introduce our actors, which I think did a great job considering it was last-minute learning. We have Ben Hughes over here as Otis Warner. His dad, Kendall Hughes as Barnett Hughes. Eugene Boynton as, I forget which one you were.
Edwin.
Edwin Bailey. John Dufrat is Hosea Thompson. Hosea. Bob Baker is Jonathan Keys. And Tink Taylor is our narrator.